Playground.
Hooray!
This is the Deron Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Deron Harris.
Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Deron Harris, and this is my podcast. How you doing this week? Hopefully everybody's doing well. I'm doing really good. A couple days ago was Juneteenth. I went out and observed. And then I went into my neighborhood, my old neighborhood, my grandmother's neighborhood, and kind of rode around. That was a crutch word. But before I get into all that, I want to check everybody's mental health, especially now. June is Men's Mental Health Month, and it's coming to a close. So I want to make sure that everybody out there is out there trying to seek the help that they need, you know, so they can have a better quality of life. Now, if you need to, you can definitely log on to BetterHelp.com, and you can log on to BetterHelp.com/Deron, and you'll get 10% off. But even though I'm plugging BetterHelp, it's definitely worth the help. It's definitely worth checking out. It's definitely worth it. If you think therapy is out of reach, think again. It really isn't. And with the way that things are these days, I'm willing to bet better than half of us need to sit down and talk to somebody. So if you get around to it, BetterHelp.com, it'll change your life. Trust me. So today I'm talking about Juneteenth, man, and what it's about. Now, of course, I jumped on social media, and there's a lot of vitriol and hate and just, ugh. It's just ridiculous that we can't even celebrate a day without there being some sort of derogatory black mark that people just want to just be negative about it. I've even seen black people be negative about it. But it is very much an important day in the history of this country. It's very important. And sometimes, I mean, it really does pain me too, because sometimes I find that black people don't even know what it is, or they don't celebrate it, or any of that. And the reason they don't is because it doesn't really align with their religious beliefs. So it's not really included. Some people do. Some people recognize it. But I've sat back and watched Juneteenth after Juneteenth after Juneteenth pass, and nobody did a damn thing for Juneteenth. I mean, the other day I heard some music. I was like, oh, I think they're doing something at the park. I went around, the park was empty. It was some guy just sitting in front of his house playing music loud. Okay, I get it. You know, nobody seems to think of it as that important of a day, but it really, really is. Today, I jumped up and went out to shoot some footage to make some content. And I live in a town that is literally 10 miles from a Civil War battlefield, in which the battle was fought, and I've discussed this before on podcasts before, but the battle was fought, and they won that battle. It was the Battle of Olustee. And I went downtown today, downtown Lake City, and there's a monument right in the middle of the park. There's a monument right in the middle of the park, and it has all the names of the Confederate generals and all the Confederate soldiers and the people who died. And they're in a cemetery not too far from downtown, about 3 miles from downtown, and some cemetery down there. And as I stood there in front of that monument, I looked at this thing and I said to myself, thank God these guys didn't win the entire war. Thank God. Thank God. Not that I am a big religious person, because I'm really not. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not religious. But I was very thankful. And because of that, I went around to my grandmother's house. I just drove through my grandmother's neighborhood, and I went around the corner to her house, and I got out of the car, and I stood there in front of her house, and it made me cry. You know, I was a little emotional because, you know, I've had some other family members live in that house, and they treated it like shit, so now it looks like absolute garbage. It's unlivable. My grandmother worked really hard. My grandfather actually worked really hard. He built additions onto that house. I remember that backyard. My grandmother grew food for us that we ate out of that backyard. And to see that place in the condition that it was in made me angry at my family members, but it made me sad more than anything. But I stood there and I remembered when all the roads in that neighborhood were dirt. They were all dirt roads. And me and my sister used to race up the street, and my cousin lived around the corner, and my other cousin lived around the corner, and we were always out in the neighborhood, and we were happy. We were happy, but we had no clue when we were young. We had no clue what the older generation was going through or had been through. I went around the corner to my great-grandmother's house, and I sat there, and I looked at the apartment where I remember that she lived last, and I remember just sitting there, and I could not even imagine what she must have gone through, you know, in the time that she was coming up as a little girl. I went down to my family's homestead on the other side of my family, my dad's side of the family. I went down to my family's homestead, where my family has been since all that servitude bullshit was over. My grandfather and my grandmother, they built our homestead. There's a church in town that my grandfather built with his bare hands. He built the church right in that town back in those times, way before I was born. And I just could not help to imagine, especially down here where I live in the South, I live in Florida. I could not imagine what they had to go through, even after slavery was over. So that's why, you know, Juneteenth is a very important day. It is a very important day for black people. And we need to recognize that. We need to begin to recognize that and pass it around. And the same thing with like Kwanzaa. You know, we're so quick to celebrate jolly old St. Nicholas, but we can't celebrate Kwanzaa, which is actually a holiday that was for us. But no, it's sacrilegious. We can't celebrate Kwanzaa because it doesn't align with our religious beliefs. So while I was in my grandmother's neighborhood, I was in her neighborhood for quite some time. And what I started doing is I started going into other neighborhoods, and I started realizing that there was how do I want to put this? There were some things that really, really kind of ticked me off and made me wonder. And it made me, for lack of a better phrase, I just feel like we're brainwashed. I drove around these neighborhoods, and all I saw was church after church after church. I mean, and I went out, and this is what I collected content. This is what I went out and did today. I went out and took footage of all the churches in all the black neighborhoods. And then what I did is I took footage of all the dilapidated buildings and all the poverty-stricken homes and all the lackadaisical people and that are around these churches, that sit and surround these churches. And people prayed and prayed, and oh, God has released us from our servitude, and only to put us back into this bullshit. I mean, let's face it, folks. It's a lot of bullshit in the hood. We are in the hood. I mean, it's the hood. Crime is fucking high. Mental health is fucking, I mean, it's just popping. Mental health issues is just burning up in the hood, but nobody wants to admit it because everybody's got to be fucking macho. Everybody's got to be the man. Everybody out here chasing the bag. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on social media that's just making me angry, man, and making me sad at the same time. I'm seeing, women doing little sketches on social media about how black men ain't shit. How black men ain't shit. I saw a YouTube channel, and it was based on biracial, relationships, which I'm in a biracial marriage. My wife is Puerto Rican. But one thing I saw that kind of was almost cringy, but not, because I don't really care. But the way that it was delivered, the way that it was put forth was all but to diminish or eliminate the black man completely out of the dynamic of the black family. And it was why it was black women and white men, why they are the best for each other. And I sat and I listened to this guy for a couple of minutes. And needless to say, it was a bunch of fucking bullshit. It's one thing I'm a big advocate. Love knows no bounds. But if you're sitting there objectifying someone just because of their physical traits, then it's not a genuine thing. And I am against that. And if the shoe was on the other foot, black dudes dating white girls just because they white, that shit is stupid. I think that is the most stupid shit I've ever heard of in my life. You're dating people you're using people as a fucking status symbol. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And it fuels more racial tension between, our respective races. And it really does. It's getting to be now where black women don't value black men. They think we're all worth nothing, that we're all fucking derelicts, that we don't contribute anything to society, et cetera, et cetera. And they feed that stereotype to the rest of the world as opposed to nurturing, the black man, who is the most mentally oppressed species of person on the face of the earth. The black man has the most instances of mental illness out of anybody. And it's sad that we cannot get our women to help us get by this, but instead they drop us off and they go hitch a ride someplace else. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you know me, you know that I've never been one person to say I'm going to date this particular person, because I've dated every race out there, because I do see color. I do see people's different ethnic backgrounds and their culture and their society. I do see all that, and I respect that. But it is not the reason that I got into a relationship with people. I got into a relationship with people based on who they are as people. So it's never racially motivated, and it should never be that way. But unfortunately, in our country, it's getting to be that way. But on the other side of that, right on the other side of that, black men talking about bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. We've been taught that. We've been taught that. It has been indoctrinated into us. And now it's on fucking autopilot. And they just can sit back now. They've passed enough laws. They've made enough legislation. They've curved enough fucking votes in order to set this thing in motion that virtually cannot stop. It will not stop itself. And the fucking thing is, and I say it all the time, we have the knowledge. We know what the fuck is happening, but yet we choose to do nothing about it. So in that, are we really free people? Are we free? Because if you look around, it doesn't really seem like it, especially in the political forum. Right now, we got a couple of candidates trying to be Trump's right-hand man, a couple of Uncle Tom ass motherfuckers out here trying to be Trump's right-hand man without, I mean, one of them even said that black families were better under Jim Crow. What kind of bullshit is that? What kind of bullshit is that, folks? I mean, it's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit is what it is. And I don't understand it. I don't understand our need or something, because it's not my need, our need to feel acceptance. And that's really what it is, to be accepted into a society that once oppressed us, that once had our ancestors, our great-great-great-grandparents out there in fields picking cotton, doing all kinds of crazy shit, beating the shit out of them for all kind of shit, instilling fucking a religion that wasn't indigenous to our people. And I thought about that for a minute. We are so in love with this religion. We are so in love. We wrap ourselves all in it. We drown ourselves in it, and we breathe it, sleep it, eat it every day. But our neighborhoods are suffering. Our communities are suffering. We're reverting. We're having rights taken away from us. There's all kinds of things that are affecting us. And it's a shame because, you know, all these people, they worked their ass off. Some of them never got to know freedom. They were born into servitude and they died in servitude. And that's fucked up. That's fucked up. They could have had different lives. I think about that. All these people, what their lives may have been had they not been enslaved. But can't think about that, can you? Nope. You got to move on past that, because here we are now. But here we are now. You know, right back in the middle of some shit, you know, that's once again perilous for the African culture and the African people, the people of African descent in this country. You know, this election, I'm not going political, but this election is very important to us. Either way, we are going to be greatly impacted. You know, I've talked to several of my white friends, and I've had to, you know, a couple of them I've told, no matter what happens in this country, you're going to be okay. Whether Joe Biden wins or Donald Trump wins, you're going to be okay. We don't necessarily feel that way. There's a lot of people that are a lot of black people that are afraid of what's to come for us. You know, there was a guy who was caught just last week out in Arizona. He was going to go to a concert and shoot up black people, and his motivation was to start a race war. There are people actively trying to start this war because all they want to do is eliminate us. And it's so selfish, and it's so sad how they can just, it's just heartless. It really is. It's heartless. They enslave us. They force us to build a country, but then once we're freed, they treat us worse and worse, and because we're just free, because they don't think that we should be free or should have been freed. It's hard to sit there and imagine that. But as I sit here in today's climate, all I do is see that shit. All I see is that ideology and that mentality. Because we understand and we know what these parties stand for. We really know what these parties stand for. We really do. And it's unfortunate that it has to be that way. But it's just become the norm. It's just become common knowledge that these parties, the way that these parties operate. You know, it's just been, fucking Republican after Republican after Republican since fucking Nixon that have just done nothing but try to fucking bring about the demise of black people, black cultured, black society at any cost. At any cost. At any cost. They don't repair infrastructure. They use substandard materials when constructing places for us to live. They put all kinds of crazy polluted shit in our neighborhoods that give us all kinds of sicknesses that we battle to this day, that we have more of than any other group of racial group of people. But we are resilient, and we keeping on. We keeping on. And that is what it's about. It is about the resilience of our race. It's about the resilience of black people. It is about the testicular fortitude of the people. And now I'm going to tell you what. We were enslaved, but motherfucking we showed up every fucking day and did the damn thing about it. We banged it the fuck out every single day. Every day.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation.
In August 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Bridget Floyd and other family members established the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Now, back to some real ass shit.
Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to the program. Today I'm talking about Juneteenth. But before I get into that, how's your mental health, man? Hopefully your mental health is good. If you need to talk to somebody, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, if you missed it or if you tuned in the middle, you can go to betterhelp.com/Deron and get down with it, okay, folks? Get down and put it out of your head, man. Get it off your chest. But today I'm talking about Juneteenth and what it really means to me, man. What it means to me, and why I celebrate it, and why it should be celebrated by all, and it should be respected. And I said it last segment. The sacrifices that these people put. I mean, oh my goodness. It's unfair. I couldn't have been there. I couldn't have done it. I would be dead. They would have killed me the first 15 minutes off the boat. I mean, I couldn't have done it. I mean, I've seen all kinds of things. There was a memorial that I saw that broke my fucking heart. And the memorial said, "This is for all of those who chose the sea." Because a lot of them jumped off into the ocean and died. Because I guess they knew. Man, it's heavy because I sit back and I think about all of this stuff. I think about the war, the battlefield that took place down the road here, the battle that took place. I think about, this town that I'm in, and growing up, in this town off and on because my grandmother was here. All of the just wide open, blatant racism that's just been here since I've been a child. I mean, when I was young, I didn't really realize because we were playing red light, green light, going across the street buying 5-cent gums, drinking knee-high sodas. That's what we were doing. We didn't know. But as I got older, I did realize that right here in this town, so many racial things, so many things, negative, racial encounters have happened to me in this town. I've been called nigga to my face in this town more times than I can count on both hands and both feet. But on the other side of that coin, my very best friend in the world comes from this town. And he's not a black dude. He actually has blonde hair and blue eyes. If you would look at him, you wouldn't assume that, we would be friends. But we are and have been friends since the second we met. We put that down, put down that race bullshit instantly, and it never was about that. And we've been friends so long, and he's actually the producer of my show. And, he called me and wished me happy Juneteenth. And he told me that he read about it, and he told me he read some other black literature, and he told me that he was happy to observe it. And he was almost excited about it. He was almost excited about it. And, I guess gun-ho, so to speak, on some like, yeah, let's get it popping. Juneteenth, baby. And that just warmed the shit out of my heart. And he does this from time to time. He'll shock me. And he'll tell me he read something. And he does. And I guess he does read a lot of literature that concerns black people because of my podcast. He helps me produce my podcast. So I guess inadvertently, if he comes across a story, he'll read through it. And he reads through it thoroughly. And he has some things he has opinions on and some things he has questions about. But most things he is spot on about it. He has solutions. He offers solutions and help. I'm not looking at any kind of white savior. I'm actually looking at somebody who is concerned about what our community goes through and what he can do to help stop that. And for that, I love that guy. I will always love that guy. I will love that guy. It wasn't always bad here. I didn't always have a bad time here. I was able to cross a lot of thresholds here. And it was difficult a lot. Sometimes it was difficult. I was young. And I was dating sometimes. And I was in high school. And this really, really pretty girl, man. Really pretty white girl. And she said to me, I would date you if you were white. And that's when I realized that the town that I was in was extremely against that. I did date someone, and her father was a preacher, and he told her, I think it would be best if you didn't talk to that black kid anymore. And she did. She didn't. She continued to see me for 6 years, which eventually, that was back in high school. But even religion cannot deter racism. Even what is called the good word from the good book can beat racism. They say God can defeat anything. They say Jesus can defeat anything. I'd like to see him defeat racism. And then you'd get my vote. I'd like to see, as much as, black people have been through in this country, I'd like to see them stop suffering at the hands of everybody else, including ourselves. If he could make that happen, I'd be right on board tomorrow. But I don't see that. And I lose faith and I get discouraged. And I see us reverting and I see us going backwards. And I see this every nigga for himself mentality. And that has been instilled in us. Shooting and killing each other over sneakers, that was put there for us. That was by design. By not giving us jobs or educating us so that we could come out of the situation that we were in. They still got to keep people back in those days of Juneteenth after they freed slaves. Texas took 2 fucking years, actually, to tell people that they were free. 2 years. 2 years, conniving bastards. Dirty motherfuckers. 2 years. Free labor, extra free labor. But it didn't stop there, though. It didn't stop there. They made loitering and vagrancy crimes. And slavery was abolished unless you were a convict or you were jailed. And then they were able to work you indefinitely. for the crime of vagrancy, for the crime of loitering. And what did they do? They arrested black men for standing around trying to get jobs. They're standing there trying to get a job. So what they do? No, you can't have these jobs. These jobs are going to these guys. But we're going to arrest you for standing here. What'd they do? Put them back in jail. And here we go. The prison population went from being like 90 some odd % white to being like, you know what it is today? It's nigga cities. That's all it is. It's nigga cities. And they're building more of them. More and more and more. And they're getting ready. Watch out. Because they're getting ready to pass a whole bunch of fucking laws. Like the first one they just passed. That fucking draft bullshit. Because you know now, if you don't sign up for it, it's a felony. Which I don't fucking get anyway. I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, you have to register for selective service anyway, but yeah, from some shit, it's just not right to do. And how do you feel, and how the fuck do you feel about defending a country, you know, especially somebody black like myself, about defending a country that really has never defended you? Never gave a fuck about me. Never gave a fuck about me or people like me. Not on a large scale. It's infuriating. But as I sit here and I remember Juneteenth and see where I'm sitting right now and what I'm doing right now, you know what I'm not doing? I'm not picking fucking cotton. I'm not doing none of that shit. I'm not plowing the field. I'm not washing the clothes. I'm not doing any of that shit. Wow, man. You know, I'm sorry, folks. Sometimes I get inside my head and I don't really say shit just because I get overwhelmed, and I feel full of emotion and full of, you know, I want to get up and do something. And I want to get up and say something. You know, I want to get up and try and handle some sort of business to get this out to everybody, to make everybody understand and realize that there are important things, important pieces of history that we have to fight for, that we are going to have to continue to fight to teach them. Did you know that in Florida, they went ahead and included the fact, and they're going to teach that slavery was beneficial to black people. They're going to teach that here. They're going to teach that here. And that's, I mean, how the fuck did that happen? And more importantly, how the fuck did we let that happen? Who hasn't gone up to check this motherfucker? To inform him about it. And not for nothing, where are all my rich celebrities? Where are all my rich black celebrities? How come we can't put our own monuments of our heroes up? Why can't we do that? How come there's no monument of Robert Smalls or Robert Smalls Park? How come there's nothing like that we do ourselves, not the fucking city? I don't want the city to take a street called and just name it Martin Luther King. I want us to do something about it. I want us to do something about it. And it's going to start like this. It's going to start, and I'm going to tell you right now how it's going to start. Black women, I'm talking to you right now. Black women, start embracing these black men out here. Start telling them that they can be anything they want to be. Stop putting them down. Stop making them derelicts. Stop calling them baby daddies. Show them some fucking respect. And on the other side of that, black men, treat these women the way that women need to be treated, man. And you'll be surprised what the fuck you get back. You steady running around here like you got some sort of fucking chip on your shoulder. Well, I'm going to tell you what, ain't nobody going to give you shit. Society ain't giving you a motherfucking thing. You're going to have to go out there and get the shit yourself. But as long as you motherfuckers is around here wondering what the fuck is going on with Kendrick and Drake and your mindset is off someplace else, we just going to continue to perpetuate this fucking bullshit. Come on, black people. Make Juneteenth count. Make it fucking worth it. I heard the other day in Texas, there was somebody shot and killed at a fucking Juneteenth celebration. Fuck that. Come on, black people. God damn it, man. Steady trying to do something good, but we steady got motherfuckers out there trying to fuck us up. I wish I had a fucking million legs with a million feet so I could stuff my fucking foot up your asses. Just disrespectful as fuck to your elders, to your fucking parents. That's why you ain't got shit, and that's why you ain't gonna fucking have shit. What motherfuckers don't realize, I'm gonna tell you what, young blood, all you young ones out here, all you young motherfuckers out here, I'm gonna tell you what. I'll tell you something right now that you ain't never going to be able to get the fuck away from. Well, maybe. And that is, you're going to get old, man. All this young shit you got going on, you're going to get old, man. And you're going to be old news. And all this shit you running around, jumping around, popping shit. I'm the man, I'm this, I'm that. You ain't shit. And once your ass get old, and you find out that all this bullshit you was doing when you was young didn't equate to shit, the fuck you gonna do? I know exactly what you're gonna do. You're gonna sit there, you're gonna shut the fuck up, you're gonna sulk with your fucking hands in your head, you're gonna wonder what happened to your fucking life, and you're gonna die. That's what's gonna happen. So do me a favor, black folks. Make Juneteenth count. And the way you make it count is you go out here every single day and you treat each other with love, dignity, and respect. That's how you do it. And while you're at it, that's how you beat all the rest of that bullshit too. By treating each other, not anybody from the outside. And it's nothing fucking personal. It's not a personal thing. It's not you, it's me. That's what it is. We need to turn it around on ourselves, black folks. And I've said this in other podcasts too. We need to turn it around on ourselves and give ourselves a little bit of self-love. We sitting here talking about, I see so many TikToks talking about self-care, self-care, self-care. You know what? We need to turn that whole fucking self-care hose on ourselves and soak our asses down in it. Self-care and self-love. And if we could get that, you'll be surprised what the fuck we could do. Hey, everybody, what's good? I'm Deron from the Deron Harris Podcast. Listen, did you know that 1 out of 5 adults live with mental illness? How do I know that? Because I'm that 1 out of 5. I'm also 1 out of 21 million American adults that are affected by major depressive disorder. That means you or somebody you know, or maybe even somebody you love, is suffering. Even worse, they may be suffering in silence because they may be in denial, or maybe they just feel embarrassed. On the exterior, people who are affected can appear normal, we can appear grounded, and even happy, but the torment, the feelings of worthlessness, and the feelings of hopelessness that we feel is very much a real thing. And in my case, it never really goes away. Like, a lot of us relive traumatic experiences that have permanently affected us every day. Now, I know for me, and I know for others as well, these experiences are really personal, so they might be particularly hard to talk about with other people, including people we consider to be close friends or our family. The sad part is, because of this, many people who are suffering will never go out and find the help that they really need. Check it out. I got great friends and amazing family, as I'm sure you do. They mean well, but they absolutely are terrible as counselors. Fortunately, there's BetterHelp. No, actually, there's BetterHelp.com. That's BetterHelp.com, which is a website that is dedicated to helping people find the benefits of therapy on their terms. As a person that attends therapy weekly and one who understands and believes in the benefits of therapy 1,000,000%, trust me when I tell you a website like BetterHelp.com is a total game changer. Check it out, fellas. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So, fellas, there's no better time to take back your mental peace of mind and start your journey. So don't put it off any longer. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp, HELP.com/Darren to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Darren. Trust me, man. You'll be glad that you did.
Yo, DJ, bring it back. Take it, D.
Hey, folks, what's up? Welcome back. Back from break. Talk about Juneteenth today. They don't celebrate this day in Africa because it's different. It's different. I really would like to know what they celebrate. How do they commemorate and how they celebrate their struggle, the things that they went through? I really would like to know that. And I want to tell these people that are out here in Africa that my heart is with you as well. My heart is with all of you as well and all of your ancestors that had to struggle and be colonized on their own soil. Colonized on their own soil. That just doesn't, I can't even fathom that. So, listen, folks, and this is everybody. This is black folks, white folks, everybody. This day is never going to go away. This day is always going to be there. As long as there's black people, there's always going to be a Juneteenth. And I'm going to always celebrate it. And everybody should start celebrating it because it really is part of American history. And not only that, it's a good part of American history. I mean, America's got a lot of bad, let's face it. But this right here, especially back in those days, and I know that things got bad after that, but this Juneteenth, it was a good day in history for black people. We were freed. We were freed. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Deron Harris Podcast. Don't forget to commemorate, folks. I did, man. I did my thug thizzle, man. I combed all my curls out and picked out my afro. I got my little afro pick and stuck it out. I put on my Blacknificent shirt, and I went out, and I enjoyed my day. I got lots of compliments on my shirt, got lots of compliments on my afro from all races, which I was appreciative of. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that people recognize my blackness. Not only did they recognize it, though, they respected it. And that right there, that's some awesome shit. I want to thank my parents for being the most wonderful parents in the world. But specifically today, I want to thank my great-great-great-grandparents. I really do. I want to thank them and everybody that is in my bloodline, everybody that from when they came over from, I want to thank all of my ancestors. I want to thank all of them and what they went through, the hard labor they went through, everything that they went through so that I could be here talking shit on this microphone. I want to thank them. I want to thank my wife because she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And she's an Afro-Latina. And she definitely, is all gung-ho about celebrating Juneteenth. Probably more so than myself. And I love her for it every second of the day. I want to thank my best friend, man. I really do. I want to thank this guy because he gives me somebody to bounce my shit off of. He keeps me solid. He keeps me real. He pushes me. He pushes a lot of buttons. Sometimes he does it on purpose. He pushes buttons to make me angry. But it does. It lets out a lot of things. And I get a lot of things off my chest, and we discuss a lot of issues concerning race, and every time we're able to meet in the middle and have a wonderful, wonderful time with it. So I want to thank that guy. I also want to thank Gentry Thomas for giving me this platform to do my podcast on. I want to thank last but not least, though, my listeners, everybody who has listened to my podcast and everybody who's listening to my podcast currently. I hope I'm giving you guys some value. And I do try. I try very hard to give you something that you can think about, that will stay with you. And I want to thank you for sticking around and giving me that audience. And I promise I will try to give you guys better content every single day. So next week, I do know what's going to be going on. I have a guest. I have a guest. I'm not going to tell you his name though, because I didn't look it up. So I'll see you guys next week, man. And it's going to be a good guest. It's a good guest. It's a celebrity from television. I'll give you that hint right there. How about that? So, but until next week, folks, I love you all, man. Have a good week. Peace.
You've been listening to the Deron Harris Podcast. Subscribe to the show, give a good rating, and everything you need to know is at DeronHarris.com.